Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to challenge one of the most basic ideas of our modern world, the idea that things are meant to be thrown away. We're going to explore a really powerful alternative called the circular economy, and these slides are going to show you exactly how it works. So, to really get where we're going, we first have to get a super clear picture of where we are right now. Let's take a look at the economic engine that's powered the last century or so. I mean, it's a system that's brought incredible growth, for sure, but it's one that's really starting to show its cracks. For the longest time, our world has run on a very simple straight line. We take resources from the earth, we make products, and then we dispose of them. This linear model, it fueled incredible prosperity, no doubt about it, but it has a massive flaw. It's a one-way trip straight to the landfill. The circular economy flips this on its head and asks a simple but revolutionary question. What if that dead end was actually a new beginning? And this is it, the take, make, dispose model in its rawest form. This is the engine of our throwaway society. It's a whole system built on this kind of unspoken, false assumption that our planet's resources are infinite. But, it's a one-way street from the earth to the dump, and we're all starting to see the consequences of that pile up. So what if we could bend that line into a circle? What if we could create a smarter, more resilient system? Well, that's the promise of the circular economy. And let's be crystal clear about something. This is not just a fancy new word for recycling. Recycling is actually the last resort here. This is about rethinking and redesigning our entire system from the ground up. At its heart, a circular economy is a system that, by its very nature, is designed to eliminate waste and pollution. The key idea here, the really crucial part, is to fundamentally break the link between economic growth and the constant consumption of finite resources. It's about building a system that can regenerate itself, a lot like a forest or an ocean does naturally. Okay, so how does this actually work in the real world? Well, the model cleverly organizes all the materials in our economy into two totally distinct fundamental loops. You've got the technical cycle and you've got the biological cycle. Let's break those down. First, the technical cycle. This is for all the man-made stuff, plastics, metals, complex electronics. The goal here is to keep products like your phone or your car in use at their absolute highest value for as long as possible. So that means you prioritize things like repair and reuse. Refurbishing comes next, and what's last on the list? Recycling. It's the final option, the last resort, because it breaks the product all the way down to its raw materials, and you lose so much of the value and energy that went into making it in the first place. The biological cycle, on the other hand, is for everything that can safely decompose and just return to the earth. Think food scraps, cotton, wood. Through processes like composting or anaerobic digestion, which is basically like a mechanical stomach that turns organic waste into biogas and fertilizer, these materials can go back to enrich the soil, allowing nature to regenerate. It's a perfect closed loop that just mimics how natural ecosystems already work. So why the sudden urgency? Why shift from this line to a circle right now? Well, the next few slides are going to show you the immense pressure that's building up on our linear system. This first number is all about risk and resilience. In a place like the European Union, over 90% of some critical metals have to be imported from other parts of the world. Now, this creates massive vulnerabilities in our supply chains, both geopolitically and economically. A circular model, which is all about recovering and reusing these precious materials locally, well, it directly tackles that dependency. It builds a more stable, more self-sufficient economy. Next, let's just talk about pure waste. A staggering 20% of all the materials we extract from the planet just ends up as waste. Just let that sink in for a second. 1/5 of everything we dig up, process, and ship around the world is simply thrown away without ever reaching its full potential. That is a colossal inefficiency that's baked right into our global system. And this last number, this one is all about the future. On our current path, with a growing global population and rising living standards, our global use of materials is projected to double by 2050. The math here is pretty simple. A linear take-make-waste model just cannot sustain that level of demand on a finite planet. This system, as it's designed right now, is set to break. Something has to change.
So this isn't just about environmentalism. This is really about smart economics. This is about designing entirely new resilient business models that are actually fit for the challenges and the opportunities of the 21st century.
This new way of doing business follows a product's entire life cycle. It kicks off with circular design, thinking from the very beginning, how can we make products that are durable, easy to repair, and simple to recycle? Then comes optimal use, which is a huge shift from owning things to simply using them as a service. So think leasing your office equipment or sharing power tools instead of everybody having to buy their own. And finally, value recovery closes that loop with clear systems to get those products and their materials back at the end of their service life, ready to start the whole cycle all over again. Now look, this is not just a theory on a whiteboard, this is a future that is already being built. Let's look at how innovators and major financial institutions are putting these circular ideas into practice right now. And you can see right here exactly where the money is flowing. Major institutions like the European Investment Bank are pouring billions into this transition. Just look at the spread on this chart. It's hitting every key sector, from redesigning heavy industry and overhauling waste management to transforming agriculture and our water systems. This isn't some niche idea, it's a system-wide economic transformation. Here's a perfect example of that value recovery step. Instead of exporting valuable scrap metal as waste, you have companies like Eco-Titanium creating high-value supply chains right at home. They're turning what was once considered garbage back into a critical resource for advanced industries like aviation. It's brilliant. And this is circular design in action. Innovators like Orbital Systems are completely rethinking everyday products. They've turned a simple shower into a high-tech, closed-loop water purification system, which just goes to show that incredible efficiency gains are possible when you design for circularity right from the start. Finally, here is that optimal use idea in the real world. Financial firms are creating new models that encourage businesses to lease assets instead of buying them. Now, this is a game changer. Why? Because it shifts the responsibility for a product's entire life cycle, the maintenance, the repair, the disposal. It shifts it all back to the manufacturer. If they still own the product, will they suddenly have a powerful financial incentive to make it last as long as possible? This brings us to a really fascinating question that gets right to the heart of the circular economy. This shift from ownership to access, it changes everything. So just think about it for a second. If you didn't own things, but you simply paid for the service they provide, the service of clean clothes, of mobility, of light, what would you demand from your products? You'd demand durability. You'd demand reliability, effortless repairs and upgrades. You'd demand quality. And that is the future the circular economy is trying to build, a world designed not to be thrown away, but to last.